All right, guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a new series. I was going to carry on with the devlog, which we're going to have an episode probably this weekend. But for this week, I decided that we'd start something else that would help you guys create your own games. So in this one, it will be a 3D RPG series. We will not create a full-fledged game, but we'll create core mechanics that we can then that you guys can then build upon in your own games. Okay, so the main things that we're going to look at in this game, in this series, are, just give me a minute. Okay, so in this first episode, the main things that we're going to look at are, first of all, we're going to look at setting up our project we're going to be using Unity. If you want to see something similar in Unreal, because my actual project, the devlog one, is in Unreal, so I could also do that if you're interested in that. But for this one, we'll go with Unity. So we'll look at setting up the project in Unity. We'll just talk about the basics of Unity, because this is for absolute beginners as well. And then we'll look at creating a project, and then from there we look at some of the tools that we use in this tutorial series, and that will be it for this very first part. Then in the next part, we'll talk about a character controller. Okay, so let's get started. So this is Unity, the web page. So I'll leave a link to this in the description, where you can come and download the Unity Hub for whatever system that you are currently running, if you're running Windows, Mac, or Linux. And then we'll get to everything else in the next few minutes. Okay, so the kind of game that we're trying to emulate here is on a very small scale. Like what kind of games? I'm thinking something like The Witcher and something like that. So the game that I'm making in Unreal Engine, most of the stuff was based on Assassin's Creed. So we could do the same for this Unity project. So it won't be in a lot of detail, but it will be enough detail to make you guys have a foundation on which you can then expand. So once you've downloaded the hub, let me just open up my Unity hub. Yeah. So once you've downloaded the hub, this is what you have. For you guys here, there'll be no projects. So you just have to create a project. So this is one game that I've been working on. I haven't touched it in a while because I've been working on the other one. So it's mainly a pirate game. So like pirates and stuff. So this is the racing game. It's on Itchy. I believe you can download it from there and try it out. And then this was just me trying stuff. Okay, so if you want to learn how to use Unity, they do have a lot of resources that you can download and then learn with. Okay, so let's come to projects, and then we'll create a new project. So once you're here, let me just make this big. All right, so once you're here, you've got different, so the templates, I should say. So you've got the 2D template, the 3D template, the 2D ERP or URP, the 3D ERP or URP, the 3D mobile core, 2D mobile core, then you've got the HDRP, which is the high definition render pipeline. So if you're going for console or high-end PC, you can go with that. But for us, we'll go with 3D URP because it works just fine. You're also able to get some good graphical fidelity with it, as long as you know what to do. And then, yeah. So we also have some others that you can take time to look into and research them yourselves. But for this particular tutorial series, we're going to be going with the 3D ERP. So click that. and we'll give it a name. So we'll say come up with something creative. For me, it's going to be tutorial. No, that's terrible. Let's say YouTube RPG series. All right. The location, I shall change it to come to my projects, and I'll add a folder here and say YouTube. Okay, and then right in here, we shall select that as the folder, and we shall create a project. So once you've done that, you've already managed to create your first project. Okay, so the next few minutes, we're going to look at the interface, Unity interface, and everything to do with that before we get into coding, into level design, into any of that stuff. Let's first understand the basics of Unity. So if you've already used Unity before, you could skip the video, or you could actually watch it, but this is for absolute beginners to game development. If you are a complete beginner, you don't know where to start, but you want to build your dream RPG game, make sure that you do not also be too ambitious. You're not going to build The Witcher immediately. It's going to take some time, so use this as something to learn from and then implement your own ideas, and yeah. So as soon as this opens up, I'll be back and then we'll carry on from there. All right, so it's done loading up, and this is what you get. It might look different. I think, let me just layouts default. All right, this is what you will see when you open it up. So you've got the option to make your workspace exactly how you want it to be. So I prefer to have a console on one side so that I can be able to see the errors. And we do have the hierarchy there. We do have the inspector there. We do have our assets there. We could add a window. So let's see, under Windows panels. We could add a new one. New window right there. There we go. So we can add another so let me see. All right, let's say project. That's not how you spell project. That's how you say you spell project. Okay. This guy. I wanted to add the duplicate one. I don't know if we can duplicate this. We cannot. Yeah. All right. We can have another one here that we can then just make completely that. We can actually bring the console there. Just that, make the project be like that. Yeah, so that we can, in case we are looking for assets and we've got a lot of them, we can see where they are. Quick. It exactly how you want it to look. Then after you're done, let's talk about what we have here. So first things, on the top left, this side, we've got this whole panel here. So this panel here is the hierarchy. So all the assets that you're going to use to bring into your world will be here. If you're going to use it to build your world, it will be in this panel on this side. On the other side, we've got the inspector. So the inspector gives us the properties to the of the assets that we are using. So for instance, if we look at the global volume, we can see the properties of the global volume. If you look at the directional light, you can see the properties, and then you can tweak the properties from the inspector side. You look at the main camera, you've got the properties of the main camera on that side, and you can tweak them. So that's the inspector, and that's the hierarchy. Down here, we've got the project. So from the project, you've got you've got actually two tabs. You've got the right tab and the left tab. So the left tab shows you everything that is in the project, and the right tab shows you the actual container that has been opened. So in this case, if we come to assets and then click assets, you can see that, okay, we have opened assets, and this is what is in the assets. If you click packages, it's the same. If you click scenes, it's the same. So there's only the one scene, which is the scene that we have, settings, and then tutorial info. Then you can check for materials up here where you see these favorites. So once you filter by materials, you only see materials. If you filter by models, you only see the models that are in the project. If you filter by prefabs, you only see the prefabs that are in the project. So materials, let's talk about them because we've already reached them. Let's just say they are the things that give the life to an object. So you want it to have a certain color, you use a material. You want it to have a certain look, you use a material. So you can texture it somewhere else and bring in those materials into Unity, or you can actually create materials from within Unity and apply them to your certain objects. And then we've got models. Models are the things that you bring from for instance, if you are a modeler, you use Blender, you bring in your models that you create that you want to use for your game, then you bring them into Unity. So if you're not a 3D artist, you can get models from Mixamo, you can get models from Sketchfab, there's so many places around the internet that you can get models from. And then you can use those models in your game. So we'll look at it when we have to bring in a character model and stuff like that. So you could also get models from the asset store, which I'll show you in a bit, because we're going to be using it quite a fair bit in this series, because even I'm not a 3D artist. So I've got a bunch of assets that I have on both Unity and Unreal, so that I'll be using for this particular tutorial series. Then here we've got the prefabs. So the difference between a prefab and a model is that a model, if we look at the inspector, it doesn't have any predefined properties, whereas a prefab has a lot of predefined properties. So even like scripts and stuff have already been assigned to it, and then you can just drag and drop them in the world, and they'll work the way they're supposed to work because they are already done. So prefabs have already been prepared, whereas models, you'd have to prepare them yourself. Okay, now that that is out of the way, we've gotten a hang of all that, let's look at how to navigate the actual scene view. So you've got two panels up here. So usually when we're doing level design, we'll actually do something like that, so that we can be able to see what the game will be seeing versus what we are seeing as we create it. So this is the scene view, this is the game view. And then the three buttons at the top, it's play, pause, and then this is take a step to the next frame, next frame. This only activates when you are in game. Okay, so let's just take a look at this. So if we hit play here on this game, what you will see here is that we are in this view now, and we can take steps here to the next frame. Let's stop that. Let's first explain the scene view. Let me just do that. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, like that. So you've got your pivot, your pivot. So you can set it to center or to pivot. I just never touch that setting. Then how you handle your rotation, and you've got your grid. So if you toggle it off, you do not see it. Toggle it off and on, you can see it and not see it. I prefer to leave it on because it makes working in Unity easier, because you can see where things are supposed to be. If you like to see things symmetrical and stuff, it helps out. So you've got the snapping, grid snapping. So if you want to be very exact with your assets, how they are sitting in the world, you could turn that on. And then you can also increment. So when you're increasing sizes, you could also snap that. Then on this side, we've got the draw mode. So there are different types of draw mode that Unity offers. If you click it, we've got the shaded, which is what we are seeing right now. You've got a wireframe. So if we had an object, you would see it better. We've got shaded wireframe. And then you've got all these others that you can take a look at your own time. We're going to mainly use shaded and sometimes wireframe, but mainly shaded. So let me just give you an example of what that would look like. So on the scene, on the hierarchy view again, we right click, and then we add a 3D object, and then we select a cube. Or you could click the plus button here at the top, 3D object, cube, whichever you feel like using, you use it. So if we click 3D object and then cube, and then you can see from our game view and also from our scene view, we've got a cube in the world. So let's just zoom onto it like that. Okay, so I'm using the right the mouse wheel button to zoom in and out from the scene view like that, and then you can hold the right mouse button and then use your WASD keys to move in and out and left and right, and then you can use E and Q to pan up and down like that, and then to pan around you can just rotate your mouse while holding the right mouse button. So hold the right mouse button, press W to move you forward, press S to move you back, A left, D right, Q will move you down, E will move you up, and then you can pan around by just rotating your mouse while holding the right mouse button. All right, so now let's look at those draw mode. So if we check wireframe, you can see now that this is no longer shaded. We're only seeing these green lines, which is like the wireframe or the frame of the cube, right? And then when we look at shaded wireframe, we can see the shading now, but we can also still see the wireframe itself. So we're going to stick to shaded because we don't need to see the wireframe. All right, so that is the draw modes. Then you can view it in 2D and you can view it in 3D. That's all that does, changes the perspective from 2D to 3D. Then you've got the lighting. So you can see when we turn that off, you can see it becomes flat. And we turn it back on, you can see it has got some shadows and the lighting looks fine. All right. Most of these other things you'll not really change. So get to explaining them when we get to them. But then on the game side, we've got a few settings that we can also talk about here. So you've got, first of all, the actual thing that you're going to be using. So are you going to be simulating, or is it a game? So we're going to be using game view. And then you've got your displays. You can select a display if you've got many. Then you've got your perspective. So I meant your resolution. So this is where you can select the resolution you're going to be using. Right now we're set to free aspect, but let's set it to 1080p because that's what we'll be building in. You can set it to 4K or to any of these, but we'll go to Full HD 1080p. Then you've got the scale, so you can scale in and out, and then just put it in. Then you've got the play mode. So do you want to play focused, maximize, or unfocused? So play focused is the one where when we play, we still keep the entire workspace the way it is. Whereas, let's suppose that if we change this to maximized, the game view takes priority, so it will become a full screen type of play mode, and then you could also play unfocused, and then doesn't matter. So we're gonna keep it on focused for now, but usually when we want to look at it, how it will look in the game, we use play maximized. All right, so this is it about the basics of Unity, the interfaces and everything. Most of the stuff, we'll look at them when we are bringing in stuff and, we'll talk about them. So let me just stop this from playing here. So on this left-hand side, like I said, you can just add by right-clicking, and then you can add whatever you want to add from this list here. So you've got 2D objects, you've got 3D objects, you've got effects. So you've got lights. So you've got audio, video, UI, and then you can add anything, for even including volumes. We'll get into those a bit later. So this will be it for the first part. Let's not really flood the first part with a lot of information. I'll try to release this one on 2 videos per week. So since today's the first one, we're going to be back with the next one probably this weekend, as also it will come out at the same time with the devlog. So that would be something to look forward to. So that those of you who are interested in the devlog and not in this, you can check out how we are going to be going into creating the quest system on that, or finishing up the quest system, because I already started it. And then for those who are interested in the Unity tutorial, it will be here as well. So after the first part, we'll wait for a few days and then do the second part over the weekend. All right, this is where I'll end this one. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Do all that great stuff. Leave your questions down below if you've got any. And I'll do my best to answer each and every one of them. And then keep practicing, keep learning the engine. And in the next episode, we'll bring in, we'll try and create a simple character controller, which we'll keep expanding on as we go on. All right, I'll see you all next time.